How's everyone doing? Today I want to talk about lazy 4K Ultra HD releases. And this seems to be a disappointing trend going on right now. And it's actually kind of surprising because 4K Ultra HD discs actually had its biggest sales recorded in the history for a quarter, this past quarter. So that is kind of mind-blowing to think, especially in this, digital and streaming age. There's been less sales overall for physical media, but more sales for 4K Ultra HD Blu-ray discs. So that is pretty awesome. And I think that really speaks to physical media collectors wanting the best for, picture quality and audio quality, and 4K Ultra HD is that option. It's the best option on the market. But there's been a lot of releases announced, and it's just kind of disappointing. You feel like they should listen to the fans, to the people who are buying, the collectors and the people that are making these purchases, because you saw a lot of companies doing really well with certain ideas, newly commissioned artwork, the HDR, which usually is a given for 4K, new Dolby Atmos tracks and things like that. But now we're seeing a decrease on a lot of those. We're seeing a lot of re-releases. And there's been a movie that'll be released on 4K last year, like Addams Family, and now this year it's getting a 4K Steelbook, and there's been many other additions and releases like that. But not just talking about the re-releases, but poor quality control. It's been a lot of disc replacement programs, and a lot of people don't seem to be aware of a lot of the different issues too. Like, look up Scream Factory. Scream Factory has a ton of issues, but even companies that are usually normally good, Criterion Collection, typically always great with their quality control, but they've had issues too. Hard Day's Night, but there's a bunch of ones out there for Scream Factory, especially. So even some of their recent 4K releases have had some issues. So Google that disc replacement program and issues with releases for Scream Factory. You'll be surprised. I think most people seem to be. But we've seen Arrow Video. We've seen pretty much most of the companies out there having issues. And then too, physical media market, you're talking about, you want the slipcover too. I remember it was The Good, Bad, and the Ugly for Kino. People were pre-ordering it and not even getting the slipcover right away. So that's also a mind-blowing thing. That's a lesser issue right there. But the disc replacement program and the quality control issues, especially in this day and age, being kind of a priority, is really surprising. Arrow Video's had a bunch of issues recently too, and usually they're typically one of the best companies out there releasing. And then again, I mentioned no HDR on some releases, and no new Atmos track. So again, you want the best picture quality and audio quality, and I'm talking about Kino for some of their releases for the no Atmos and no HDR. And I like what Kino's doing. I could see maybe there's possibilities of maybe those films wouldn't benefit from those options, or maybe that would increase certain issues with original, source material. But I just feel like it's a trend that's continually happening, and it's disappointing. And Scream Factory especially, I feel like they were doing so great with their Blu-ray releases, and now their 4K releases. You have, the old artwork, which a lot of times is great to see that. But they used to have newly commissioned artwork for the Blu-rays and reversible artwork. So if you had the slipcover, you'd have that newly commissioned artwork, and then you could put the old classic poster artwork, theatrical artwork, on the Blu-ray, case artwork, or you could, switch it around if you didn't get the slipcover. Now that's not an option. I feel like they put more effort into their previous Blu-ray releases than they are for the 4K releases. They're just kind of like slapping the old artwork on there, putting the slipcover, if you're lucky, and then just throwing it out there. I'm thankful for the the new transfers in 4K, and maybe give us some more special features too, but I just feel like they put more effort into their previous Blu-ray collector's editions and things like that. So I found that to be disappointing. I loved a lot of their newly commissioned artwork. Scream Factory was knocking it out of the park with that. And I love a lot of the classic artwork for these films too, but again, I want that option. You've, kind of programmed me to expect that now, and, being a top tier echelon for releasing like horror and cult titles. You get that newly commissioned artwork as part of the packaging and part of the overall release, and that's what you want as a physical media collector. That's something that you've been used to now, and to not have that, it just feels like it's cheap. It's, you're trying to cut corners, and it's kind of hindering, I feel like, for your sales. And then lastly, we need to talk about terrible artwork. Don't they have a review process for not just the quality control, but for the artwork too? It just seems shocking. Like, I don't know who's picking these choices and who's agreeing with them. They're just surrounded with like yes men, but maybe get some fans, get some polling going on. It makes me think of like the Sonic the Hedgehog, the first movie, how they released that teaser trailer and everybody just was terrified by Sonic and said it looked awful. And they actually listened to the fans and changed things, which that seems to be, kind of an outlier. That's not a normal thing that happens. So very surprising, but awesome that they listened to the fans and that actually helped big time for that movie. And I wish they would do that now for, different releases, especially for the artwork. Poll some fans, get an idea what people want and what they don't want, because this release slate coming up has terrible artwork. The new, Halloween box sets for 6, 7, and 8, the outside box, awful artwork, terrible. And then the releases inside, I don't know if they're going to have individual releases or not. Kind of hope they do. I don't know why they didn't do a full box set, because the other 4K releases for the film were pretty recent. So it doesn't seem like there being any licensing and rights issues unless they specifically put in there not to put in a box set, which I don't know why they would do, because they had all the individual releases in a short time span together for the earlier Halloween films, 1 through 5. So it just seems odd not to have them all together like that. But the artwork, again, for the, inside with the cases, you see all the leaves everywhere, which is kind of typical now for the Halloween 4K releases. But I don't know, the artwork just doesn't do it. And then the outer box, horrendous artwork. Ugh. Seriously, some of the worst artwork I've seen for horror releases in a long time, maybe all time. It's up there with the Just Before Dawn Code Red last release too. That artwork was terrible on a multitude of levels. But then you also have the Poltergeist 4K release. That is one of the all-time worst horror artwork for a release ever. Especially if you have that opportunity to do that classic artwork. It's so iconic. But then you have the other artwork for the Steelbook, which I actually kind of like that artwork. I wish that would have been for the standard release. Now I'm going to have to get the Steelbook for that one. I'm trying not to get as many Steelbooks. But that one's going to buy me in for that artwork because I love that film. It's an all-time classic, and that artwork is amazing. And the artwork for the standard 4K release is just terrible. Like, who thought that would be a good idea? That shot is, it's so bad, hilariously bad. I've seen all kinds of memes and jokes for it already. And, it's Coach out there twerking on the porch and, the light and everything. It's just, I don't know what they were thinking with that one. And then the Lost Boys. The Steelbook artwork, I hated that artwork. The standard one is a little bit better, but I don't love it. I feel like they could have definitely gone a different route for that one. The Steelbook one doesn't really make sense too, with the glasses and seeing that same shot on the bridge. But I don't know. I feel like if they were going to do different artwork from the theatrical poster, they should have been the one that was initially leaked. And a lot of times the leaked artwork is usually actually not the artwork that they go with. But I actually kind of like that one if they weren't going to go with the theatrical one. The leaked one that they was first out there was actually pretty good. That would have definitely been better than what we're getting. So just, all in all, we're getting some releases that don't have HDR, don't have Atmos tracks. We are getting ones that have poor quality control. We're getting a bunch of disc replacement programs. Some ones that, have issues that aren't getting disc replacement programs. And I feel like a lot of people aren't even aware about the disc replacement programs. And we're still waiting for, some of the Blu-ray replacement programs for Jack Frost 2 from MVD. That's not coming out till October 11th, I think is the date. And then there's other releases getting delayed and pushed back. And we're getting other releases too, where it's just re-releases. Paramount's releasing The Ring on Steelbook, but it's not a 4K. It's the regular Blu-ray release. Although I don't know, that's not a great looking film to begin with. So maybe there's a purposeful way they didn't do that. But I feel like we're going to see a 4K release for that in the future probably. But I just feel like that was a missed opportunity not to do that one. It's a great film. I actually prefer it over the original Ringu, but it's just, all the washed out hues. It's not a great looking film in general, but still surprising it wasn't a 4K release. But I'm thankful for companies like Lionsgate with their 4K Steelbooks with newly commissioned artwork. They're doing an amazing job. And, they have those, slipcovers where you take it off and it reveals different artwork underneath. And now Paramount's doing them too with the Event Horizon one. So I'm thankful that, they're listening to fans and adapting to the market. But again, we're having a bunch of other issues too out there. We're, having just lazy releases where they're, throwing out the old theatrical artwork on there, not having, newly commissioned artwork, just not adding anything to the releases other than the transfer, which again, I'm thankful for that opportunity, but give us something more, especially since we've been conditioned now, especially from Scream Factory, to get the newly commissioned artwork, new bonus features and things like that. So to not have that just seems disappointing. and kind of surprising, but I guess in the end, it's all about the business model, the business side of it. They're trying to make money, cut corners where they can, stay alive physical media wise. I'm trying to support what I can, but it's hard to keep up, especially again with so many re-releases. We get a 4K release, and then a year later we're getting the 4K Steelbook, or we're getting a newly remastered Blu-ray special edition, and then a year later we're getting the 4K. So it's hard, at the same time you want to support physical media, but then with all these different re-releases, I can only rationalize spending so much each month, And then for me, like, it's seeing all this terrible artwork coming out, it's just mind-blowing. Like, don't they have a review process? Don't they ask people? Like, I don't know what's going on there. Let me know what you think of the artwork that's been coming out too. It's been released. And what one is your least favorite for this slated releases for 4K for the artwork? It kind of feels like that they think they can just slap any old thing together, put 4K in it, and we'll buy it. It's just the way that these releases are coming out, especially everything that we've had previously. It just feels like a step backwards, especially for this format that's been thriving actually. And it just feels like they know we're gonna buy it. And we are gonna make all these complaints, but we're still gonna buy it. I want to support physical media. I want to support 4K. I want it to do well. I want to get more releases, but I want them to be proper releases with the Dolby Atmos, HDR, newly commissioned artwork, reversible artwork, a slipcover, no quality control issues. I don't have to deal with disc replacement programs. I oftentimes feel like I should wait on getting things until they fix the release and reissue it. Mad Max too, Anthology. So just so many different releases that have had issues in the past couple years. It's just more than I can think of in the past 2 years, maybe for all of them combined. It feels that way. So I don't want to wait too, because I want to get some day ones for these ones, especially to ensure that I get the slipcover. I don't want to pay a premium later for the slipcover. And then the artwork choices, I just don't know what they're thinking with something. It's just hideous. They're just pulling them out of their butt and saying, we'll throw that on there, that'll do. And it's mind-blowing to me. Do some research. There should be a research and development, taking some polls and getting feedback. It's just the same thing when they do testing for movies, test audiences and stuff like that. They'll change things if they get bad feedback. So I don't know why they're not doing that, because the artwork choices, I feel like it's everywhere. Everybody is talking about these releases and how bad the artwork is. It's not just one person that's complaining, it's everyone. And when you get that level of negative feedback, listen to the fans, listen to the people that are buying your product. I know there is a business model, you're trying to cut corners sometimes, but some of these things could be easily avoided, and you can have a happier consumer base that will support you more in the future. But bottom line is, we're probably all going to buy these releases. Physical media fans, horror fans, especially. We drive the physical media market. Horror fans, I feel like Disney fans too, actually. But so many great horror releases have been coming out, and it's great to see a lot of these titles get the 4K releases. I never thought some of these ones would get the Blu-ray release, let alone 4K releases. So, Vinegar Syndrome is doing some really good releases too for 4K. In the past, I haven't been the biggest fan. I feel like their slipcovers are better than their movies, but now they're going to do Texas Chainsaw Massacre 2, which I'm blown away by that. That's one of my favorites in the franchise. I take it over the original. But yeah, let me know what you think about this, your thoughts on this, everything that I've talked about in this video. And the only thing we can do as consumers and physical media collectors is make posts like this, and hopefully they will see our constructive criticism, if you will, the studios, and they will take our feedback and hopefully make some changes, make some effort, and address the situation, and make for better releases that'll please both sides, essentially. And I think that's something that can happen if more people make posts like this. So, or leave comments on it. So the more exposure that something like this gets, the more awareness, and studios will see it and hopefully make an effort. That's the goal of this video, not just to, complain and commiserate. It's to hopefully, get some traction here, and some exposure and feedback, and have some changes happen from different studios and companies that are releasing these 4Ks. So yeah, let me know what you think of this topic, again, with 4K releases and all the different issues that I've mentioned on here. And let me know what you think of all of these points. Is it a trend now for lazy 4K releases for everything that I've mentioned? Let me know if you have anything else you'd like to add to other issues you have with 4K releases that have been coming out. And what's been your biggest issue with the 4K releases that have been coming out and that are slated to come out coming up soon? Leave me all those comments down below, and I hope everybody's doing well. Take care.